it's Sonia from Blackstone Designs, and today I'm going to teach you how to make the beginner half double crochet hat. The instructions come in sizes baby, toddler, child, small adult, and large adult. For this pattern, you are going to need worsted weight yarn, a J 6.0 millimeter crochet hook, scissors and a needle, of course, and a cute little fur pom-pom, or you can use a pom-pom maker and make one out of the worsted weight yarn. For tutorial purposes, I will be using Journey yarn. That's because this yarn has great stitch definition that will help you be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better, but I did not use this yarn for this pattern, and it's likely that the gauge would not match up. Okay, grab your hook and grab your yarn, and let's get started. Now, of course, the chain size is going to depend on what size you're making. For tutorial purposes, I'm going to just make a teensy tiny, probably Barbie size hat. But if you were going to make the baby size, you would want to chain 25. If you're going to make toddler, you're going to want to chain 30. If you're going to make the child size, you're going to want to chain 35. If you're going to make the small adult, you want to chain 40. And if you're going to make the large adult, you want to chain 42. So first we start off with our beginning chain. After we complete the beginning chain, we want to yarn over and insert our hook into the back bump only of the chain, second chain from the hook. So the second chain from the hook would be this one. That would be number 1. This is number 2. But we want to flip that over and find the back bump. Bump number 1, bump number 2. So we're going to start there and work the back bump across. Now, since we skipped one, you will have one less stitch than you have for a beginning chain count. So for instance, if you're doing the baby, you're chaining 25, but you'll end up with only 24 half double crochet. Okay, now that we've reached the end of our chain, we will chain 1 and turn, which is just like a flip, making sure that the stitches you just completed stay upright, so it's still the top. Then we're going to yarn over again, and we're going to work half double crochets, but only in the back loop. This is the third loop. This is the front loop. This is the back loop. So when you turn your half double crochets up so you can see the top, and you're seeing these V's, the loop right here and closest to you is the front loop. So the one in the front is the front loop. The one in the back is the back loop. And that is always how it's worked. So even if I turn this around again because I've completed it, now the one closest to me is the front loop and the one furthest away is the back loop. So we're going to yarn over, skip the third loop, skip the front loop, insert into the back loop only, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 into that back loop only, all the way across. Okay, now that we've reached the end of row 2, we will do the chain 1 and turn again. So once we flip it, we're looking at the back side of a half double crochet again. So here's the third loop. This now becomes the front loop. That's the back loop. And again, back loop only, half double crochet all the way across the row. And you're going to continue this for the amount of rows indicated in the pattern. So if you're doing the baby size, you want to go up to 28 rows. If you're doing the toddler size, you want to go up to 32 rows. If you're going up to the child size, you want to do 36 rows. If you're working the small adult, you want 40 rows. And if you're doing the large adult, you want 44 rows. So as you can see, the further and further we get along, the more we're getting this fun ripple texture. And that's called ribbing. When you work the back loop only, half double crochet, you're creating half double crochet ribbing. Okay, and now that we're at the end of our strip, we need to seam this together to form a hat. So we will still chain one at the end of that row and turn our project. Then we will fold the first starting row up to the last row. And we want to make sure that we are matching up the stitches. So stitch 1, stitch 1, stitch 2, stitch 2, stitch 3, stitch 3, because we're going to join each adjacent stitch. And we do this by slip stitching down, working through the back loops only. So you want the back loop only from this stitch and the back loop only from its matching stitch, like this. Back loop, back loop, back loop, back loop. So we just want to match up our back loops. And then with a slip stitch, you just insert into the loops, grab the yarn, and just pull it right through all the loops. We're not drawing up any new loops, we're not yarning over, we're just inserting, grabbing the yarn. You can see that there are 3 loops on there. And we're just going to pull right through all those loops. So whereas a single crochet or half double crochet, we might yarn over, insert and draw up a loop. We're not drawing up the loop, we're just pulling the loop straight through. Okay, and I know these last ones can get a little sneaky, but you can see your V. So there's the back loop for that one. And you can see this one's kind of tucked off. There's the back loop for that one. There we go. Now we have created this little cylinder type shape. Let's go ahead and clip the working tail. You want to leave a pretty good size tail so that it can weave in and out of the top row. And we will pull that tail. That's the beginning tail. This is the working loop tail. We're gonna just tuck that in there. that, and then fasten it to make a knot, and then thread the needle, and then we will start weaving. This also may be made easier if you just use your crochet hook and pull the thread in and out so that you don't accidentally break the yarn. But you just want to find little spaces where you can come under the strand, the entire strand. You can do one, you can do a set of two for extra stability. So I went from the outside to the inside, so now I'm going to go from the inside to the outside. Now from the outside to the inside, and inside to the outside. Just keep weaving in and out until you get back to your starting point, which is the seam you just made when you joined the two ends together. So that's the issue with using a needle. Sometimes you accidentally go into the strand instead of underneath it. Okay, now we're back to where we started. Then you will pull on that tail and it will cinch the whole thing closed, like so. Then you come across the, like cross over with the needle, and pick up some loops or some strands. Cinch, and then come off to the side, insert over here, and cross over to the other side, the opposite side. And you want to just do that a couple of times to really close up that hole. Say you have a hat, you can put your little pom-pom on the top, and it can be a slouchy. You can roll up the brim a little, and it can be just a little bit slouchy, or you can do a big brim and make it a nice tight-fitting hat. And of course, you would want to hide your strings. You don't leave these loose. Weave them in and out of your stitches in here. And just hide them away, tuck them away. Make sure you weave them pretty good so that they don't fall back out, especially with it being a wearable item. It'll get a lot of use, a lot of stretching, and that can pull the tail loose. I'm just realizing that this teeny tiny size would be super cute as an ornament, or to put on like a bauble or something like that and create a fun new ornament. It would be super cute with the little pom-pom on top too. And as for the pom-pom, let me show you how to add that to the top. With the fur pom-poms or pre-made ones, you will see that there is a elastic loop on the bottom. So what you want to do is come up from the inside of your hat and out of the top center, like so. You will grab that loop and you will pull it back down through. Now, if you would like this to be detachable or changeable, you can sew a button right to the inside of this hat, and then you can just loop it around. But we're gonna keep this pom-pom on, so we're going to start sewing through that loop. I do this usually from the top, but this will give you a better idea of how to secure this loop. And you can just tie these two tails together. And clip them off. And then voila, you have a pom-pom. Now, I like to do this from the outside as well. Because of the elastic, it tends to not fasten tightly. So I like to actually come through the pom-pom itself, above the elastic, right through the fabric of the pom-pom itself. So I would come up from the bottom of the hat with my needle and a little bit off center, like so. It's going to be hard to see under the pom-pom, but you can see where the elastic is going down in the center, and I came off to the side a little. Then I'm going to make sure that the pom-pom is flat and centered to the hat, and I'm going to insert my needle into the pom-pom itself. And you can tell when you're in there because you can feel the resistance a little bit, the stuffing and the fabric, and then just push it right through. And then right out the other side. Kind of move the fur a little bit here so your string doesn't show. And then off center again. So there's my loop from the other side, and I'm going to come down over in here and bring it right down through the middle again. And that's much more secure to the hat. Then you can come up and do it the opposite sides, or if you were to imagine, you know, the four corners. If I came this way, now I want to go this way. I like them extra secure, especially when working on anything for a baby. So I wouldn't put a button in a baby's hat to make it changeable. And I would extra sew this to make sure it's super secure. Because babies get a hold of the craziest stuff that you would never even consider, and we don't want any hazards. Okay, and now you have your two tails here. Once again, you can just tie them together. Again, with a baby hat, you may want to leave a longer tail that you can weave in after you've knotted them for the extra security of it. And then we can just clip off loose tails when we're done. And there. And now you can't even see that elastic, and it's super sturdy. So there we go. The beginner half double crochet hat. Thank you for watching my video. If you'd like to see more from Blackstone Designs, you can find me on every major social media network. Happy crocheting!